Hey, welcome back. See, that's twice I did the hey thing. This is the IRS Radio Hour on AM 560.
The Answer.
And I am joined by the gang, Deborah and Jim.
Hello.
We are here talking IRS and news. It's a news station.
This is true. Not only do we talk that, though, we speak about other things. We don't talk the talk, we walk the walk here on this show. And by walking the walk, this is what this segment is about. It's the blog segment. The blog. The blog. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. The blog segment where attorney Stephen Leahy walks the walk and gives you the talk about how he... I am lost.
Is the number one IRS attorney on the block.
It's really a case.
It's absolutely true. There's a lot of them on my block, too.
A lot of them are really case studies. Am I correct?
Well, they are, and that's kind of much what the blog is it's kind of my reminiscence of what I have done usually over the last week. And this week is no different, Jim. And that's why I've been talking a lot of payroll tax stuff, because I've been doing a lot of payroll tax issues. I don't know. Things kind of come in waves. You know, you kind of see the same thing. I don't know why that is, but that's generally the way it works. And so I've had these payroll tax cases, and usually, you know, I try to protect my clients, and my goal often is to never let my clients talk to the IRS directly.
That's a smart goal.
It is a smart goal. But I have learned you can't always do it because sometimes they insist. And there's this, especially in this payroll taxes. And also, what I wanted to tell people is, I've in the show we've been talking about the difference of the IRS and how they've been getting more and more aggressive, I think. And here's some evidence of this. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I talked about that. I had this client, and the IRS revenue officer called me and said, "Oh, okay, I'm going to give you 2 weeks to give me this information that I need, and I'm going to show up at your office to collect it, and we'll review it together." And all the time I've been doing this, and it's been some time I've been doing IRS stuff, and I've never had an IRS revenue officer come to my office, okay, and say, "Oh, I'm going to come by your office and collect these things." And I said, "Well, it's really not necessary, because my client, in this case, he came in some money, and he was going to pay off his IRS debt after like we've been helping him for like 4 years. He was in an installment agreement, owed a good amount of money, and he came into some money. He just said, "I'm just going to pay it." So I told the IRS, he's just going to pay it. So there's it's not necessary for you to come in. But no, she insisted. 2 weeks, I'm coming in. I had a check for her when she came in, and I thought that was unusual. And I asked her, what's so special about this case? Well, they're just telling us to get out of the office and make some calls, and visit people more often. So I have a payroll tax issue, and the revenue officer calls and said, "Okay, I want to do a 4180 interview." What this is? It scares you. The 4180 interview is the form that they use. And remember, I always say the IRS has a form for everything. And this 4180 form is called the penalty or personal liability for tax. Report and interview with individual relative.
Can you imagine?
To trust fund recovery penalty. Okay, that's what this is.
Can you imagine that the first day on the job?
That's not funny, Debbie.
The first day on the job at the IRS, I got to use the bathroom. There's a form on the wall. Just fill out the form.
I was imagining 4180 was, we're going to ask you 41 in-depth questions and then give you a multiple choice test with 80 questions on it.
It's
about the IRS.
While drinking a glass of water.
So again, as I mentioned.
And chewing gum.
And rubbing your belly in a circle. Okay, that's kind of patting your head.
We joke, but that's kind of like what they do.
They make you jump through. They make you jump through hoops. Okay, so one of the purpose of this interview is to find out who is responsible for the trust fund recovery penalty. Remember now, the trust fund recovery penalty is that penalty that they can go after people in the business for payroll taxes. So the business is now liable for payroll taxes, but they can go beyond the business and go to the individuals. So generally, when I have a corporation or an LLC or something like that, I'm insulated from from my business's financial problems.
That's why you do that.
That's right. But what people don't realize is payroll taxes, they can go beyond that. And I don't want to say they can pierce the corporate veil, but they can pierce the corporate veil and come after you personally. And that's what this interview is for, because they want to determine whether you're going to be liable for that trust fund recovery penalty. Now, oftentimes my clients, for instance, in this case is an LLC. It's a one guy. He runs everything himself. He's obviously going to be responsible for the trust fund recovery penalty. And in that trust fund recovery penalty, I just call him and say, my client's going to, actually what happens, usually I just get a form. They've already determined. We've determined he's responsible, and if I can go to court and I can contest it. But that's usually what happens. And then I can object to that finding. Or sometimes they'll say, we want to interview him, and I'll just say, well, we're just going to stipulate, okay, he's responsible, and you could get a trust fund recovery penalty against him if you need to. He's going to be responsible. Now, there's no need for this interview. Well, I tried that this time, and the revenue officer said to me, oh, no, I need to have this interview, a face-to-face interview with your client, and you need to make him available. And so, again, as much as I don't want that to happen, she insisted on it. We didn't have anything to hide, but instead of her going to his office or we going to her office, at least they came to my office that I was in. So we're in friendly ground, and there's no way that stop the intimidation and all this other stuff. And so we're in my office, and I can control what goes on.
So this reinforces a point that we always talk about on the show, which you can find previous episodes on chicagotaxteam.com. You can also go on YouTube and you can look up our previous episodes to gain information to help make an educated decision on what you're going to do to help get out of this financial burden. What this reinforces is that get a lawyer, ladies and gentlemen, get an attorney, because they're going to help you out with this aggressive maneuver from the IRS.
Actually, that's what got this guy to get me, because she wanted to come by his office and sit down with him and interview him. No. And he's like, well, maybe I should get an attorney. And she's like, oh, I'll be there Tuesday. And I was like, well, then he came and hired me, and then we put it off, and we made the time convenient for us, not convenient for her. Of course. Right? And so, but anyway, I was asking her about this. I said, well, why? We could have stipulated all this. The form, the 4180 form, it's a fairly standard form. They're looking for a couple of different things. One is responsibility. Who's responsible for writing the checks and paying the taxes? Who's responsible for that? And so that's one of the questions is focusing on who is responsible. So if it's that person, or maybe it's your bookkeeper, you don't even have to be an owner to be responsible. If I'm a manager and I'm the one that fills out the checks and I'm the one that pays the taxes all the time, and I know that they're not being paid, and I make the decision not to pay them, even though I'm not the owner, I could be held personally responsible.
Oh, yes,
for that.
you can.
So you got to be very careful with this. And so the first one is responsibility. The second one is willfulness. Did you willingly do this? Did you know that this was going on, and then you let it happen? So both of those two, if they can't prove both of those, then you could avoid the trust fund recovery. Another way to avoid a trust fund recovery penalty against you personally is if you don't owe that much, you can come up with a payment plan. So I'm doing that with another client. If we come up with a payment plan to pay the payroll taxes over 2 years, to pay the 2 years with direct deposit and pay them in full within 2 years, sometimes you can convince the IRS not to go after their personal assets, and then they won't get liens against them, and it won't affect their credit. And so sometimes that's the best way. So there's a couple different ways to do this. But what I really want to get over to people is that the IRS is now, when I asked this woman, why are you doing this? She said they're making us come out and do these field interviews. They want us to get in face to face with the taxpayers. And I was telling her, well, it's not that intimidating to me. I'm an attorney. You come to my office, I'm not intimidated by it. But I'm going to tell you, a taxpayer, if they go to their office or make them come to her office, it's pretty intimidating.
But Attorney Leahy, answer this question. Was it shocking that they came out to your office? Did it catch you off guard?
It was unusual. It had never happened before. Well, except for that one time before.
Yes.
But again, this is in the last month or 2 months.
Even Attorney Leahy, he's not scared. He's not startled, but he was taken back by it. So, ladies and gentlemen, don't get caught by this. The IRS is going to start getting aggressive. This is what they want to do. Make sure you hire an attorney. If it isn't Attorney Stephen Leahy, make sure you hire an attorney to help yourself out. Ladies and gentlemen, Open Tax Resolution is here for you. 312-664-6649 or visit ChicagoTaxTeam.com. That's going to be your hub to help fight the IRS. Watch previous shows and get in contact with Attorney Stephen Leahy and Open Tax Resolution. Stay tuned. After the commercial break, more IRS Radio Hour here on AM 560, The Answer.